So this morning's presentation on degrowth, I think that was a really interesting one for our industry because it's been the elephant in the room for a long time. You know, we know that we cannot continue to make product and keep on selling them when it's not necessary. And I think for many of the members in the audience, it was really the first time that someone has stood in front of them and said, you know, this is the impact that you are having on societies and on the environment and on people. And actually the only way that we can repair this is if we do not grow anymore, but if we cap our growth and if we take stock of what we're producing and how it's being produced. So I think if outdoor brands want to enhance action within supply chains, the best thing that they can do fundamentally is to collaborate. Within one of the projects that we're working on, we've been actually mapping the supply chains of our members, and while we expected a small amount of crossover, we were genuinely surprised by just how much sharing of suppliers and facilities is going on. And I think this brings so many opportunities and so much value for the industry to improve. On the one hand, they can share resources, they can divide the work, they can share their ideas and the work that they want to do. But on the other hand, when they're working with suppliers, if they do that collaboratively, they have a much more leverage to actually achieve what they want to achieve. So for example, if one brand goes to a supplier and asks for some kind of intervention or some kind of with a request, it's very difficult if they're a very small partner of that supplier. But if 10 or more brands are coming together with the same request in a very unified manner, then of course that has a lot more push with the suppliers to actually achieve what they want to achieve. The three most important benefits for the industry to support the Decarbonisation Fund is, firstly, we need to do this to achieve the carbon reductions that we have to achieve to meet global targets. I think one thing that we've learned during our pilot project is that we have such a long way to go. 2030 is in 7 years' time, and we have a lot of work to get there, to get to the necessary climate reduction targets that we need to achieve. So I think achieving targets is definitely one of the benefits. Sharing costs is also a benefit. We've learned so far that to decarbonise supply chains, it's incredibly expensive. And if we work collaboratively through contributions to the Impact Acceleration Fund for Climate, then we can actually share the costs between everybody involved and between the brands and the retailers and then anybody else. And then the third benefit, I think, is it provides a network and a structure which is incredibly helpful for brands to actually to create their own strategies and formulate their own work that they need to do. Because obviously when they're donating to these kind of funds and working in these kind of groups, then they learn a lot from each other, and it's not just about sharing costs, but it's about sharing ideas and work. What the COVID crisis has allowed the industry to do is to have a really good, strong look at their supply chains. I think the supply chains have evolved, you know, gradually over time, a little bit here, a little bit there every year. And what the kind of pause in activity and the problems have allowed brands to do is to actually stop and look at what is happening, where they're producing, who they're producing with. And I think it's also kind of scratched away at the kind of ethical nature of some of the suppliers. It allowed the industry to see how suppliers were treating their staff. So from a kind of ethical trading perspective, what some of the brands saw was, you know, that the staff were being treated in ways that they didn't want to be associated with anymore. So I think taking stock was definitely one of the things, but also kind of a bit more investigating into how suppliers operate and how they work.